Larry ate crayons. Jason swallowed a penny. Nobody scheduled a consultation. We just moved on. Yep, and we were fine too. It's Saturday. I'm Akorn, and this is Gen XM Millennial Memes, episode 120. If you've missed some of the episodes, especially last week's show, the playlist can be found down below in the video description. Please consider hitting that like and subscribe, and let's jump into today's show, starting with this week's pop quiz. Even though this movie was released in early 1991, I think most people here on the channel will be familiar with this one. In the movie Silence of the Lambs, when Hannibal Lecter first meets Clarice, what does Hannibal say as a greeting to her? If you think you know, drop your answer down in the comments below, and then stick around for a bit, because it may not be what you're thinking right now. I'll give the answer later on in today's show. All you kids with your Fortnites and Black Ops, y'all wouldn't even make it past the Kansas River. Well, that's a pretty cool looking Oregon Trail there. The one I played was just green. This one's in full Technicolor. Me pooping in a 130-degree porta-john in the field and hearing a knock. The weather be like, coat on, coat off. That is very true. The other night it was 16 degrees, and the next day I think it was 63, and now it's back into the 70s. The most reliable truck ever built. That is a fact check true. Never even got a flat tire. There was a time when you could rip a heater while enjoying your $1.29 Big Mac inside McDonald's. We need to start asking each other, what's crack-a-lackin' again? At this point, it's probably our joints. Yeah, it is, unfortunately. Alright, let's settle this once and for all. What color folder is math? Math is blue. I don't know why, it just is. And now, your deepest memories. 12 assorted color cups. Yeah, how many of you guys remember the multicolored ice cream cones? Don't call yourself a gamer if you never played this back in the day. That was one of the best games, especially if it was on a long car ride. I'm not saying I'm old, but if you hear me say, I put it in a really safe place, just know we're never seeing it again. YouTube's very first video is now on display in a museum. That's right, millennials, you're getting old too. What's your favorite John Hughes movie? That's actually a pretty hard one. I'd probably have to go with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, followed up with The Great Outdoors. Which one would you guys pick? I wish car manufacturers would bring back older models, change absolutely nothing, just make them brand new. Yeah, unfortunately, that's never gonna happen, because they certainly don't accidentally want to make something that actually lasts, let alone something that us shade tree mechanics can actually fix. I just looked at my laugh lines in the mirror, and I genuinely do not remember anything being that hilarious. Yeah, too bad that's not what they're actually from. Men only change wallets when a woman buys one for them. I'd say that this is right most of the time, but I bought the wallet that I have now because the wallet I had before this one was falling apart to the point that I was afraid I would lose something important. Older siblings, we found you in a dumpster. Pops took a gummy and can't handle the big table. I'm assuming this must be in some supposed art exhibit or something like that, but it's still pretty funny.
Oh, Jerry. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Just a friendly reminder that there are an entire generation of people that feel and will continue to feel that the 80s were 20 years ago. Correcting them with logic and/or math is unnecessarily mean and unkind. Yeah, they've never forgotten, guys. They've just been checking off the list. Gen X will be the last generation to make ashtrays for their parents in school as projects. Me trying to remember someone's name 10 seconds after they tell me. My memory is not good, and names, well, they get tossed around with everything else. If the last few years had a narrator, it would be this guy. Name a famous cat that isn't Garfield. Well, staying in cartoons here, there's Heathcliff, and in my opinion, at a higher tier than both of these, is Tom from Tom and Jerry. A buttload is an actual measurement, which equals 126 gallons or 477 liters. Well, when you told your buddy that you caught a buttload of fish at the lake, you might have been exaggerating a little. What's a guy gotta do to get a vintage 1983 Burger King portable AM radio with Whopper headphones around here? You'd probably have to go on eBay, most likely. With that said, I do not remember these. Did any of you guys have these back in the day? It's been 50 plus years, and I still hate the addition of Cousin Oliver to the Brady Bunch. During a 1985 French rally stage, a car's throttle cable snapped mid-race. Instead of retiring, the co-driver operated the car manually by the exposed throttle cable, controlling engine speed while the driver focused on steering at speed. Their improvisation kept them racing, turning a breakdown into a legendary moment of teamwork. This might have taken place in France, but it definitely fits the 80s. The best therapy in the 80s was a late-night drive with the stereo up. You guys remember when late-night drives were relaxing? Okay, guys, serious question. Is it Oscar Mayer or Oscar Mayer? Because I certainly remember Oscar Mayer. However, once again, today, now, it's Oscar Mayer. Which one do you guys remember? After 20 years of marriage, I heard you still call your wife darling, beautiful, and honey. What's the secret? I forgot her name 5 years ago, and I'm scared to ask her. Well, as long as he stays creative, he'll be fine. Happiness was getting the S power in Contra. Yeah, it was. That was a good game, too. I grew up in a time when this was the only security we needed. Yeah, my grandfather's house had those, and locks that took skeleton keys. And the reason they only needed that was because people back then, even criminals, still had enough common sense to know what would happen if they broke into your house and you're at home. Only in the 80s could you get the best life advice from a pile of trash. I think her name was Marjorie. I could be wrong on that though. Today's pop quiz question was, in the movie Silence of the Lambs, when Hannibal Lecter first meets Clarice, what does Hannibal say as a greeting to her? If you said, "Hello, Clarice," then unfortunately, that is not the correct answer. Or at least, it's not today, because now he just simply says,
Morning.
When I was a kid, you actually had to win to get a trophy. Yeah, they didn't have participation trophies back in our day, thankfully. Here is a photo of one of the original Teddy Ruxpin prototypes. 80s kids were either playing these or this. Nothing said luxury in the 80s like a waterbed. I remember seeing several waterbeds back in the day that the headboard was either identical to this one or something very similar. Remember McDonald's parties? Well, hey, now you can have a McDonald's wedding, believe it or not. What is the best cooking state? I'm gonna have to go with 4, because I don't want the steak tough, but I also don't want it still bleeding either. But the more I look at this, maybe something between 3 and 4. Hey, if it's stupid but works, it's not stupid. That's 100% fact check true. I bet he saved quite a bit of time with that. Who remembers pineapple upside down cake? I remember it, never liked it though. Your job is to pick the most awful actor to play Rambo. I guess I'd have to go with Don Knotts. Who would you guys choose? We apologize, ozone layer, but we looked amazing. It's a good thing that Hairspray back then didn't cost what it probably does today. This little cartridge made you feel like a god. Infinite lives, no damage, level select. You weren't playing the game anymore. You were running it. Never had one of these, but although I can't remember who it was, I did know somebody that had one of these. 27 photos on the disposable camera. 24 were blurry. 2 was of someone's thumb. 1 perfect photo. And we thought we were photographers. Yeah, and it was still a win if we even got that one good photo out of a whole roll of film. I'm old enough to remember when ATMs looked like they were straight out of an 80s sci-fi movie. Yeah, too bad that wasn't where technology stopped. Before coffee, after coffee. This is definitely true for some people. One day you're living it up. Next thing you know, you're at the window wondering if that's a chickadee on your bird feeder. We played outside, wrote in cursive, drove stick shifts, memorized phone numbers, read maps, and arrived at our intended destination. No one knew what we looked like, no one could reach us, and we didn't care if they did. We were the last generation to experience the final remnants of freedom before it all faded away. Last week, I misscheduled Saturday's show and ended up having to drop it later on Monday. So if you missed last week's show, you can check it out now by clicking on the first video that YouTube will pop up here, or you can go to the link that I'll drop in the first pinned comment down below. I'd like to thank all of you for watching to the end of the show because it really helps to support the channel, as well as hitting that like, subscribe, and sharing the videos. I'll see all of you back here tomorrow on the latest episode of Laugh While the World Burns, which airs every Sunday, currently at 12:55 p.m. Central Time or 1:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe this weekend. This is Akorn, over and out.
There's a note.
Yeah, left a note for
And there's a belt, and it's a whole skeleton.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
There you go. '13.
Wow.
9 years ago.